So here's the gist or the simple idea of simple interest. If you have money and you want to put it into the bank as a savings account, which means the bank is holding on to your money, what the bank will do, if you give them your money and they get to hold on to it, they will give you a percent money back. It's called interest. The reason they're paying you to hold your money is because if they get this from enough people, then they have a big amount of money that they can then use to help their business. They'll use it to invest. And they'll use that bigger amount of money, everybody's savings, they'll use that to help the bank gain money and gain stability. In the meantime, to get more people to put their money into savings, what banks will do, again, is give you some money back, depending on how much money you put in. So if you put more money in, you'll get more interest back, depending on how long you keep it in. The longer you keep your money in the bank, the more money you'll get back in terms of interest. So we're going to take a look at how to calculate how much interest you'll have, plus how much total you'll have, your savings plus your interest. The formula we're going to use is I equals P times R times T. Well, let's break these down so we understand what each one is. I stands for interest. Interest is the extra money you earn because you have savings. Okay, that's what the bank is paying you back. And usually it's not a lot, but again, it's still extra money that you didn't have. It's the extra money the bank is giving you. Interest is calculated by P times R times T. P is the principal. Now what is the principal? Principal is the amount of money that you have in your savings. Okay, that's what the principal is. So if I put $200 into savings, that's the principal, the amount that I'm putting in. R. R is rate. And that is your percent. That is the percent return. So the bank will say, okay, if you let us hold your money, I'll give you 2% on the amount you give me. So the rate is my percent amount. T. T is time. And it's measured in years. A number of years that your savings is in the bank. And again, remember, the longer the bank can hold your money, the more they can do with it to help their own business as well. So that's why they encourage, look, the longer we get to hold your money, the more you will get back. So they take how much money you put in. Remember, the more you put in, the more you'll get out. The rate, they'll offer a certain percentage. That's why people shop around to find banks that have a higher savings percentage, highest interest rate, and time. The longer you keep it in the bank, the more they get to use it, the more money you'll get in return. So we're going to look at 3 examples. Let's look at the first example. You have $200 in savings. So I go to the bank with $200, say I would like a savings account. They offer a 3% return rate, okay, on the amount that you put in, and you want to keep it in for 4 years. So I'm going to use my formula, which is the interest amount equals principal, my money amount times rate times time. Now again, like before, there's going to be 2 different questions that will be asked. What is the amount of the interest? And what is your new total amount now? So let's use our formula. Interest equals P times R times T. Interest equals principal, 200, times rate. My rate is 3%. What is 3% as a decimal? 0.03 times time. What is my time in years? Remember, it has to be in years. 4 years. So, what is my interest amount? I'm going to grab my calculator. 200 times 0.03 times 4 equals 24. That is the amount of my interest. Okay? Now, you look and say, so 4 years I let the bank hold my money and I only made $24. So 24 divided by 4 is 6. I made $6 in 1 year. It's not much, but it's something. Again, what makes this bigger? Having a bigger amount in savings, or finding a bank that has a higher rate. Now, the next part is, okay, so how much do I now have in the bank? Typically what we've been doing is an idea like this. Okay, well if it's 3%, okay, it's 100% of my money, but an added 3%, so it's going to be 103%. It doesn't quite work here, and the reason is because I have more guys in the play. I have not only my principal and my rate, but then I also have my time component. So to use this idea of 103% doesn't quite work here. And that's okay. If the problem said, how much money do you now have? Well, you just made $24 in interest. So all we're going to do is take my original plus my interest, and that gives me my new total. So I'm going to do what makes sense. I'm going to take how much I earned plus my original. My original was $200 plus $24. What's my new total? $224. So again, be careful what question is being asked. How much interest you earned, or what is your new total amount in the bank? Our next example, basically the same. I want you to notice what's really different. I changed my principal amount, which is 500. I changed my percent rate, which is 5%. But notice now what I changed my time to. There'll be some questions where I say in months. This is 8 months. So you're only going to keep it in for 8 months. Same two possibilities. They might ask for interest or the total. So let's do interest first, no matter what. Interest equals principal, 500. Times rate, 5% as a decimal, move my decimal left twice, 0.05. Times 8 months. Remember, this needs to be in terms of years. So if you do a little thinking here, okay, 8 months. Well, there's 12 months out of a year. So what is 8 months out of 12? Simply put, you can type it in as a fraction. 8 out of 12. So 8 months as years is 8/12. 8/12 of a year is 8 months. So when you get stuck on months, just put a fraction over 12. So let's go ahead and do my calculations. Calculator. 500 times 0.05 times 8 fraction 12. Okay? Now I get a mixed number here, and that's okay. I get 16 2/3. It needs to be in money. Let's see, 2/3 as a decimal. Well, that's the same thing as 16.666 repeating. It's money, so I have to round to the nearest penny. So I'm going to round 6. There's a 6 after it, so that rounds that 6 to a 7. $16.67 is how much interest I earned. How much money do I now have in the bank? I did have 500 was my original, plus $16.67 equals, $516.67. In our last example, there will be some questions that say, I put in this amount, my starting amount, after so much time, this is how much I now have. What rate was I at? What percentage rate did I use? Our original formula was interest equals P times R times T. With a little figuring, you can rearrange this equation so that it is the rate. So I'm going to show you that. Rate, which is my percent, is equal to my interest divided by principal times time. So what we're going to simply do is take my information using this formula. So we're going to have two formulas to work backwards to figure out what my rate was. So here we go. What is my rate? Rate equals interest. So let's figure out what my interest is first. Remember, interest was that extra money. I put $200 in the bank 2 years ago, so that was my starting amount. After 2 years, I now have $216. So ask yourself, interest, which is extra money, how much extra money did I earn? Oh, $216. So that must be my interest. I'm sorry, I didn't earn extra $216, I earned an extra $16. So $216, take away the original $200, I earned an extra of $16. Must be my interest. On the bottom, I need my principal. Principal was my starting amount, which is $200. Time, how long was it in? 2 years. So I have 16 divided by 200 times 2. Rate, I'm going to do order of operations. 16 divided by 200 times 2, 400. Rate equals 16 divided by 400. 16 divided by 400 is 0.04, which is equal to 4%. So that's the rate that I was locked in at, so to speak. That's the rate that the bank used when I put in my $200, waited 2 years, and I now have $216. So that's rate.